so you can't see my titties. My bad moves.
Sub-objective near your location.
Oh yeah, we need to get that spore spewer,
Calling
don't we?
down a sentry. 200 meters. Activating jump pad.
Dead spore spewer is a life changer. Okay, I see it. I see
Requesting
it.
orbital strike.
Perfect. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Tagging location. Terminate
I'm just gonna shut up. Y'all can ask me
destroyed.
questions if you need to. I don't want to be a nag.
Calling in reinforcement.
Reinforcement. Engaging terminal. Get some! Get some!
Anyone need this machine gun? I didn't call down a stratagem weapon. Shit, I missed the hill because it knocked me down. God damn it. Those things are too close. Yeah, I threw my turret in the wrong place and it got wrecked.
His future father-in-law, Edward Benderski. Most of their early history is clouded in mystery, but like many other hackers on this list, he got to start young. Of the little we do know, he was pretty much destined to become a cyber criminal, with his father, Victor, having an alleged history of money laundering. And Maxim didn't hesitate to fulfill the family legacy. Allegedly, Maxim got his start in cybercrime sometime in 2007. In 2009, he was investigating.
Yeah, I'm going to get my stuff. I'm not going to pick that thing up yet.
When the authorities first cracked down on the crew's
Thanks,
activities in
R3, Romeo 3.
Maxim was named the prime defendant in a criminal complaint filed in Nebraska, claiming he had been responsible for delivering the money mules and their associated banking credentials. But of course, since he lives in Russia, he was never reprimanded in any way. This was just the start of his vibrant criminal history. Sometime in 2009, he allegedly formed the Business Club with other notable Russian hackers, including Vitaly Kovalyev. This was around the time of Game Over Zeus, which he allegedly continued to be involved with. I couldn't find much about this, but according to later indictments, he was involved in the attempted theft of $210 million and a successful theft of $70 million. Sometime after the widespread arrest of the Game Over Zeus crew, he worked with the Business Club to create his true magnum opus, a malware called Drydex, or also called Gods, or also called Krydex. I don't know why it has three names, but I'll just chalk it up to him being Russian or something. The program first launched in June 2014 and became one of the most prolific malware programs in internet history. Sometime after this, he got together with Igor Turashev and another hacker named Alexander Reisenkopf, forming a group called Evil Corp, although this name wouldn't be used until later. Going back to the software he created, Drydex, what did it actually do? Well, similar to Zeus, it was made to automatically steal banking info. It operated by sending millions of phishing emails every single day, casting the widest net that it possibly could. If a user clicked on the malicious link, it would then infiltrate the victim's web browser and generate fake login pages. When users entered their login information, it was collected and sent back to a remote Evil Corp server. This money was then laundered
Okay, we got a Biotitan.
cash and able to be used by the criminals. This method was horrifyingly successful. Over the next few years, Evil Corp would steal upwards of $100 million, putting it on the same level as Game Over Zeus, even though the latter operated over a much shorter period of time. In a similar way to Zeus, its services were also rented out to other hackers. Taking full advantage of his family's criminal history, he hired his brothers, cousins, and even his dad to join the operation. This criminal organization was highly centralized, with all Russian employees working directly
Calling
under
down a
Maxim and
sentry!
Igor. Igor as he was responsible for the smooth running of the servers and the botnet. Under him, there were dozens of low-level admins and software engineers
Dropping a
also
pin.
working around the
Southwest,
clock.
200
Corp
meters.
was effectively a full-fledged criminal enterprise, and arguably
Sending
the
in
most
an eagle.
impressive thing about it was how much it resembled a normal business. Maxim himself was basically a highly competent CEO, and as CEO, he was always looking to expand production. In mid-2017, his company created a ransomware virus called BitPaymer, which then became extremely prolific.
Hey, we got him coming up
This
behind
year,
us.
he also met with a man named Edward Bendersky. He's best known for being a former member of the
Yeah, I'm
Federal
down.
Security Service, which is a Russian equivalent of the CIA, handling intelligence, counterintelligence, counterterrorism,
Dropping
Quest
package.
approved. Reinforcements have been launched.
internal security, and foreign espionage.
Thank you.
He was also a member of a military unit called Bimbel, which is essentially a standalone subunit of Russia's special forces. He later founded several companies named after his former unit, including a private security firm called Bimbel A in 1994, and later followed by companies like Bimbel Active and Bimbel Protect, both of which are connected to another group called Bimbel Group Association. For Maxim, there were two advantages to getting friendly with Edward. Firstly, he owned multiple companies that could be used to launder the
Fuck
money
you,
that
dumb
he
bug.
before was stealing. And secondly, and much more importantly, it gave Maxim a direct connection to the Russian government, which would really come in handy.
Ooh,
With that,
paperback.
the two struck up a friendship. Later in 2017, Maxim married Edward's daughter, who just so happens to also be a business owner, owning a series of stores that sell luxury clothing. And speaking of the wedding, it was a very extravagant affair. As you can expect, Maxim was making a disgusting amount of money from his illegal activities.
Package
And it
acquired.
showed
Thanks.
with
I
his
couldn't see my
spending
hover pack
habits.
though.
The wedding alone cost around $300,000. Among other things, he also purchased a custom-made Lamborghini Huracan with a personalized license plate that translates to thief. After making this connection, Maxim started working directly with the Russian government, allegedly acquiring confidential documents through their malware program. He then tried to use his connections to gain authorization for access to classified information from the FSB, although it's unclear how successful he was. But while everything had been smooth sailing until this point, things quickly started getting complicated. Sometime in the middle of 2019, he and his partner, Igor, started getting on each other's nerves. The relationship slowly started to fall apart, and it was completely destroyed by December. The crew had operated entirely behind the scenes up until this point, but it would end when the courts in Pennsylvania and Nebraska indicted both of them. The charges were severe. Both men were accused of conspiracy, computer hacking, wire fraud, and bank fraud, all in connection with
Never mind.
drive-ins.
Marking
Maxim
location.
was additionally
Southwest.
charged
Tagging
for his alleged
location.
involvement with these used projects. A bounty of $5 million was put on his head. This was what seemingly destroyed the partnership between Maxim and Igor. Even before that, Turyshev had already started working on his own malware called Doppelganger, which he began using as early as mid-2019 and continued to use throughout 2020. He would eventually be indicted in Germany for developing the virus. As for Maxim, he still had a business to run, so he elevated his friend Ryzenkov to fill in for Turyshev's role as his right-hand man. Throughout 2020, Evil Corp started taking
Dropping
great
package.
care to keep things under wraps. They abandoned their social media accounts and restricted their movements, trying their best to stay out of the public eye
Calling down a
and, more
sentry.
importantly,
You
out of
okay,
the reach of
Elko?
the United States government. They also launched Wasted Locker, a brand new ransomware whose purpose was to do things much more sneakily. Unlike something like BitPaymer, its attack vector was highly targeted. It would first probe a computer for key weaknesses, then assess the security level of the computer, and then adapt to the security measures to breach them. Once the computer was infected, the virus would then spread laterally through the network to another machine, repeating the cycle. This virus was pretty successful when it was first deployed in May of 2020, but as soon
Super
as it
credits are
appeared,
always
people
good. I
immediately
can use some of
realized
those.
it
I
was
only have
a
about
handiwork
3
of the
grand.
Russians. Still, they succeeded in hacking a company called Carmen in June, causing some major damage to their operations. Notably, they changed their business model slightly, increasing the amount of money they
Calling
asked
in
for
orbital
to unlock
strike.
a victim's computer to ridiculous amounts, ranging from $500,000 to $10 million, all to be paid in Bitcoin, of course. As silly as those amounts sound, this actually turned out to be the right play, as in 2021, they managed to convince CNA Financial Corp, one of the largest insurance companies in the United States, to pay a $40 million ransom, setting the record for the largest ransomware payment in history. Sadly for them, this success couldn't last forever, and as time went on, the tight-knit organization of Evil Corp began coming apart at the seams.
No.
Figures in the company left to do their own thing, and even Ryzenkov went on to release his own ransomware program called Waterbit. That program in particular was eventually shut down by an operation led by the National Crime Agency a British equivalent to the Department of Homeland Security, which is a British equivalent to the United States' Department of Homeland Security. In late 2024, Risenthal was indicted for the same charges as his two friends, but all of them are still at large.
Request approved. Deploying
Oh man, I
reinforcements.
gotta take pills for my prostate.
Group, or Advanced Persistent Threat Group, is a designation used for highly sophisticated hacking collectives, often with substantial government funding. Of these, one of the most infamous is known as APT-41, a hacker group consisting of Zhong Haoran, Tan Dailin, Qian Xuan, Fu Cheng, and Zhang Lixi. Born sometime in the 1980s, this quintet are all Chinese nationals who share a remarkable skill for hacking. Being complete unknowns prior to their hacking career, they first came onto the scene sometime in 2012 after hacking a video game company. In 2014, they were caught carrying out espionage campaigns, which on one hand were designed to steal money, but on the other were also attempts to steal company and government secrets, showing they could handle multiple objectives at the same time. While never technically proven, governments around the world suspected that APT-41 was an effort by the Chinese to spy on and disrupt operations in the Western world. This could be seen through their targets, which range from telecom and car companies to
This thing landed right in front of me when I shot the eruptor.
Request approved. Reinforcements on the way.
Don't eat your breath.
Enemy tactical asset within threat range. Requesting air support.
Whoever put that turret in here sure made it recovering my hover pack simple.
Requesting air support.
Checking map. North, 100 meters. Requesting orbital.
Let someone call you in closer to your where you died so you can get your stuff.
Calling in reinforcements.
Calling in reinforcements.
Requesting sentry.
Horrible positioning. Oh my shit. This is a huge nest if anybody wants to assist.
Dropping a pin. Southwest. Close.
Will never destroy our way of life. For prosperity.
Calling in extraction. Extraction request confirmed. Shuttle inbound.
Requesting sentry.
Calling down a sentry. Tagging map. Southwest. Far.
Heavy. West, 50 meters.
ETA T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds. Requesting orbital strike.
How about a nice cup of liberty?
Yeah, just call me in on extract. This is more.
Higher education institutions
Reinforcing!
and travel services. And oddly,
Half
they often
reinforcement
combine this
budget
with
remaining.
access seemed completely superfluous. During an operation to steal
I can't
data
believe I
from
bought
What's the
those damn ribs and sitting on brisket. God damn it.
From 2015 to 2018, this diversification really went speed. They would regularly target companies in 6 different industries all at once, including retailers, cell phone companies, media companies, car companies, software companies, really any company they could get their hands on, they would have. I will say, however, that generally speaking, the important targets were often in the tech
20
sector,
seconds.
aligning with the Chinese government's plans to dominate this market as outlined in their 5-year plan starting in 2011. But it wasn't just a general
That's
play
not-
to weaken
that's not a
the
good
Chinese
place.
often
10
appeared
seconds,
targeted
clear
for
landing
very
zone.
specific situations. In 2017, they hacked a retailer and targeted their investment plans at the same time as the
Shit.
retailer was about to strike a partnership with a Chinese company. Allegedly, they also carried out more tactical assignments. For example, according to a report, they hacked a hotel 2 weeks prior to an expected visit from 2 Chinese officials, during which the hackers looked at the reservation list to see who else would be at the hotel. They were also used to suppress dissent, supposedly gathering information on pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong and sending phishing emails to news agencies that
I'm coming
published
for you, Echo.
pro-democracy articles. It's almost impossible to cover every bad deed these guys are accused of, but when they weren't busy stealing corporate secrets, including source code for proprietary software, they kept busy by
If you come towards me, I'm on the bridge.
attacks. They also engaged in something called cryptojacking, wherein they would take over a computer and then use that computer to mine cryptocurrency remotely. Until
You should be able to come
2019,
straight
they
to me.
operated without any real backlash, serving the interests of the Chinese government. Then, in
I
August,
think.
someone
I hope.
finally
I
took
can't really see
notice.
everything. I
They
don't
were
have my hover
indicted by
pack.
a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C., which
Dropping a
indicted
pin.
them again in
Northeast.
August of
300
2020.
meters.
The
No
following
man left
investigation
behind. Come
led
on.
to the dismantlement of their criminal network. Hundreds of accounts, servers, domain names, and web pages used to run their malicious software and collect data were seized by the FBI in conjunction
Beautiful.
with private companies, including Microsoft, which developed a countermeasure to prevent the hackers from accessing their victims' computers, which left the group effectively neutered. They were charged with 57 counts of all kinds of crimes, from racketeering to hacking to identity theft and everything in between. But just like pretty much everyone else on this list, since they're residing in China and most likely work with the Chinese government, there have been no attempts to extradite them. With pretty much no risk of being targeted, the 5 hackers eventually just went right back to work. Not that it was going to be easy, but despite not being captured and sent back to the United States, getting back to hacking wasn't going to be a cakewalk. Throughout 2021, their activity was closely monitored, with cybersecurity firms managing to work out their schedule and uncover some of their methods, putting out about 80 notifications to warn companies about incoming attacks, which basically ruined these guys' plans. Despite this, they continued to operate. In 2021,
Okay, we've got an impaler. That changes everything.
companies across multiple countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and a number of East, South, and Southeast Asian countries. By now,
If you can see the impaler's head market, I can throw something on it. I got an orbital.
Operation more or less the same. Reconnaissance, initial access, and then execution. Reconnaissance was split into 2 methods, active and passive. For their active reconnaissance, they used the tool
Nice, that was good.
to find security flaws in websites, and
Lots
they
of
used
pretty
a tool
fire.
called
Heavy
Nmap to
south,
check which
100
parts of
meters.
a network are open. But they also used brute force tools to uncover hidden web pages and subdomains. For attacking certain Java-based
Calling down a
applications,
sentry.
they used a tool called Jexbox. As for
Tagging
passive
location.
methods, they
Never
used a
mind.
tool which allowed them to see publicly available IP addresses and the services that run on them. With all that information, they could then move to the next phases. But things had definitely changed since their early days of spear phishing, although they never quite
All right, man. We ready?
Instead of only cold emailing people who worked in companies, they started using an SQL injector, a tool that automatically finds and executes administrative commands to gain access to unsecured websites, and then would come to hack itself. To avoid detection, they would install malware to a victim's computer in small
Engaging
chunks,
orbital
each
laser.
of which was independently encoded and then decoded once it was safely installed. Once every part was on the computer, the complete
All right, let's stop
file was
wasting
then
time and risking
placed somewhere
lives.
where the victim wouldn't be
Countdown
found. These
initiated.
strategies
Stand by
have
for
continued
takeoff.
working for them to this day.
Reinforcement
Between the
budget
middle of
depleted.
2021 and 2022, they successfully launched attacks on 6 U.S. state governments using a so-called zero-day exploit, which is a
Extraction
system
complete.
vulnerability
Pelican
that
1 beginning
the
ascent.
creator of an operating system system, let's say Microsoft, hasn't been made American. In 2023, they continued to target companies, including
Today
the
you've carved
Taiwanese
another
government-affiliated
in a
research
long
institute.
climb
After
to
so
the
many years
moon.
of working in this business, with so many cybersecurity firms hot on their heels, you'd think their operations would wind down somewhat. But instead, 2024 proved their most successful year yet, as they infiltrated networks across Italy, United Kingdom, Spain, Taiwan, and Turkey. But because espionage doesn't bring in the money, they started redirecting their efforts sometime in summer 2024, targeting multiple gambling websites in order to siphon money. They did this by establishing command and control servers, which connected to victims' computers with their malware, and then maintained a constant connection for upwards of 9 months. As of today, they continue to operate on a massive scale, despite every attempt to bring them to justice. While many of the companies they target choose to stay quiet, there is no denying that they have caused untold amounts of damage and will continue to do so in the near future. Park Jin-hyuk was born somewhere in North Korea, but his exact place of birth, or even his birth date, are uncertain, although it was reported that he was 34 years old back in 2018. What is known is that he attended university in Pyongyang, North Korea's capital. At some point, Park was picked up by the North Korean government, joining their infamous hacking team called the Lazarus Group, designated as the APT-38 Group. He was hired to work for a front company called...
Epic's got that accuracy down. Everybody should get some medals.
Welcome aboard, Helldiver.
If your medals show 0, you either have the maximum 250 or they'll show up by tomorrow. This server's always been weird about that.
Greetings, Helldivers. The Galactic War awaits.
Allied destroyer has left squadron. Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital thrusters. Orbit synchronized.
called Chosun Expo Joint Venture, from where he allegedly supported the North Korean government with malicious cyber attacks. He worked for the Chosun Expo since at least 2011 in the town of Dailan, China, and he wouldn't return to North Korea until 2014. When the prodigal son did return, Lazarus Group took no time at all in becoming one of the most infamous hacking collectives in the world. In 2014, Sony was planning to release a movie called The Interview, a comedy centered around the idea of assassinating the North Korean dictator. The North Korean government was not happy about this, and they attempted to force Sony into canning the movie. When strongly worded letters didn't work, they mobilized the Lazarus Group for one of the silliest cyber attacks in history. Calling themselves the Guardians of Peace, they hacked the central Sony database and, using malware, claimed to have collected
Oh shit,
over
I got up
100
with my no
terabytes
shirt
of
on like
data,
never.
including sensitive employee data, internal correspondence, and even the email archive of the then CEO, Michael Linton. Perhaps the most interesting of all, though, they also leaked 5 movies that hadn't been released yet, including Fury, Annie, Mr. Turner, Still Alice, and To Write Love on Her Arms. The so-called Guardians of Peace were very open about their hack, using a massive splash screen to let the victims know who had just trolled them. Over the next few weeks, they promised to release all of the data they had collected in batches to expose Sony, presumably. The leak itself had a massive impact on Sony's reputation, as their lack of security was put under heavy fire. Even worse than them, employees affected by the leak sued Sony for damages which only added to their costs, as the hack itself had already caused $15 million worth of damage. It didn't help that some of the emails were pretty spicy, leading to criticism over Sony's work environment. This included an exchange between Amy Pascal, the co-chairman of Sony, and Scott Rudin, a major movie producer, which went as follows. Amy asked Scott what she should ask then President Obama during the Jeffrey breakfast. Scott responded by asking if Obama was planning to finance any movies, to which Amy responded that it was unlikely. The two then started trading ideas for movies she should bring up, including Django Unchained, 12 Years
Atmospheric
a Slave,
Spores.
The Butler, Think Like a Man, and Ride Along. These are all movies with black
okay,
leads,
just
which
the
many
map.
people interpreted as racism, which forced them to apologize. As funny as that is, it was just a taste of what the Lazarus Group would get up to. In 2016, they upped the ante by hacking a Bangladeshi bank with the intent of withdrawing funds from their New York holdings. They did this by making transactions to phony bank accounts from the Philippines and Sri Lanka. They successfully managed to transfer $101 million to 4 Filipino accounts and 1 Sri Lanka account, but sadly for them, the remaining 30 orders, which amounted to $850 million, were all blocked by the New York Fed. After that, $20 million that was already transferred to Sri Lanka was successfully retrieved. Still, that left an impressive $81 million hole in the bank. While it's not clear what the hackers would do with this money, it's likely most of it went straight to the North Korean government. Throughout 2016 and early 2017, they started hacking U.S. defense contractors, including Lockheed Martin. They used spear phishing emails sent to employees pretending to be rival defense companies to gain access to their databases. And one of their prime targets was the plans for the THAAD missile defense system, which was being used by the South Korean government. However, it seems they were unsuccessful in that particular venture. By now, the Lazarus Group was really put on the map, and they soon caught their biggest break yet. In April of 2017, a mysterious hacking collective called the Shadow Brokers, in an attempt to stir up controversy, leaked several powerful NSA hacking tools and exploits, including
on level on Creek Day.
an exploit in the Windows infrastructure that can be used on older computers. Microsoft had already
Do you want to see
this
it?
vulnerability back in March of that year, but because most companies are very slow to update, the threat of what this exploit could do was on every cybersecurity expert's mind. Sadly for everyone involved, the Lazarus Group soon took notice, and they designed one of the greatest weapons in cyber warfare history, WannaCry. The WannaCry virus made an appearance in May 2017, just a month after the Shadow Brokers leaks. As a ransomware virus, it locks down a victim's computer and demanded a $300 fee to unlock it. At first, people thought it was spreading through a phishing campaign. In reality, it was using the Eternal Blue exploit to jump from one computer to another using a tool called Double Pulsar to deliver its payload, which was responsible for locking down the files. Within one single day, the virus spread to over 300,000 computers across 150 countries. The UK was hit particularly hard as the hackers targeted the NHS, which is essentially an umbrella term for the publicly funded healthcare system of the UK. And as a result of them targeting the NHS, thousands of people couldn't get treatment. The sheer damage caused by the virus was unprecedented. But what's even more interesting is the way that it was rendered ineffective. A researcher working on countering WannaCry found that part of its operating procedure was to check for the existence of a non-existent link. When the link wasn't found, the computer was locked down. Out of curiosity, the researcher purchased the fake domain, which rendered the virus completely ineffective. While it continued to spread, it could no longer harm any computer it came in contact with. Although it saved countless computers, the harm was already done. WannaCry cost an estimated $4 billion in damages, making it the costliest ransomware attack in history up until that point. Microsoft came in and released patches for older, unsupported systems, including Windows 7, which they hadn't done before. At the time, the Lazarus crew didn't claim responsibility, but it didn't take long for most of the world to catch on. Just days after the attack, intelligence agencies across the world identified lines of code identical to other Lazarus crew projects, which quickly put the spotlight on them. A few months later, the White House publicly announced that North Korea was responsible. From here, Park Jin-hyuk became the main target. In September 2018, he was indicted for the 2014 Sony hack, the 2016 Bangladeshi bank heist, the hacking of defense contractors, and the WannaCry attack. While the Lazarus Group was mentioned as accomplices, they weren't officially named. I'll let you guess how much the indictments actually impacted them. In early 2018, they started to dabble in crypto theft, looking for a way to fund their operation without being so easy to trace. This new modus operandi worked extremely well, as the same year, they stole $530 million from a Japanese cryptocurrency site called CoinCheck. In that same year, they also attacked the Bank of Malaysia, stealing a further $390 million. In 2019, they stole around 342,000 Ethereum tokens. For context, this would be around $1 billion today, assuming they held on to it. These crypto heists have gotten even crazier since then. They continued to steal hundreds of millions of dollars of crypto every single year. In 2022 alone, they broke their yearly record, stealing $1.7 billion. By 2023, they had already stolen over $3 billion over the past 6 years. And in 2024, they added a further $650 million to that number. Still, that's not to say they were getting off completely scot-free. Back in 2021, 2 more members of the group were indicted, John Chang-hyuk and Kim Il, who were both implicated for the group's crypto heist starting in 2020. At this point, the Lazarus Group and its 3 named members are some of the most prolific hackers in history. As recently as January 2025, law enforcement keeps uncovering more crimes they've committed, including the so-called Operation 99, which targets software developers. They use fake recruiters to reach out to them, ask them to test projects, and review some code. When they click on the malicious link, their PC is attacked by malware, which collects sensitive data, source codes, other intellectual property, and, yes, more cryptocurrency. As of today, they continue to operate unimpeded. And it all started because of a comedy movie about assassinating Kim Jong-un.
Calling in a hell bomb.
For this one, we'll have to give you a bit of background. It all starts with a woman named Monica Alfred Wicks. Monica was born in El Paso, Texas. In 1997, she joined the U.S. military and became an intelligence specialist with the Air Force, which gave her a very high security clearance and access to all kinds of top secret intel. She served all over the Middle East, including Qatar, Tajikistan, and even war zones like Iraq and Afghanistan. She left the military in 2008, at which point she joined the private sector, working as a contractor for the DoD until 2010, after which her security clearance was revoked. By all accounts, Monica was an exemplary American after she and even war zones like Iraq and
Deploying
Afghanistan.
reinforcements.
She left the military in 2008, at which point she joined the private sector, working as a contractor for the DoD until 2010, after which her security clearance was revoked. By all accounts, Monica was an exemplary American soldier. But this all changed in February 2012 when she went to Iran for the
Objective critical
Hollywood
stratagem available.
organized by the New Horizon organization. This conference essentially condemns American culture and is a massive anti-Western propaganda piece. But for her, it must have been pretty convincing, because she then supposedly appeared in videos from Iran where she identified as a U.S. veteran and then criticized the U.S. government. She also
Objective
converted
critical
to Islam
stratagem no
during the
longer
live
available.
television event, although the consensus
Tactical
seems to be that she
asset
had
nearby.
already converted sometime before this. Around a year later, in August 2013, she arranged to enter the country again, and this time, she wasn't planning to leave. She agreed to divulge top-secret information relating to U.S. national defense. The Iranian government handed her an office and a work computer, and using her experience and connections in the intelligence community, she started gathering up info about United States intelligence personnel, people that she personally knew. And she then used that information to draft target packages against them. Monica herself is not present on the FBI's most wanted cybercriminals list, as she's actually listed under counterintelligence. Despite this, she became a prolific state-sponsored hacker. She partnered up with 4 Iranian nationals. The 4 men were members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Together, they planned to aggressively target Monica's former intelligence friends. According to the Department of Justice, the hackers used fake social media accounts to contact these individuals and use
Don't start it till we get all 5 things, and don't load it till we have 5 rounds.
You'd think having someone with Monica's pedigree on their side would give them a huge
Once you
leg up
start it, it
against
usually
other
triggers an invasion.
But as it turns out,
Like this.
experience cannot mask sheer stupidity. On one occasion, they created a Facebook account with the name Bella.
And if you start loading it with the first thing you find, it'll end up with a bunch of static and no.
They attempted to play into the officers' more primal urges, promising to send them photos of Bella if they turned off their antivirus software. Because, as we all know, antivirus is the perfect. They attempted to play into the officers' more primal urges, promising to send them photos of Bella if they turned off their antivirus software. Because, as we all know, antivirus is the perfect tool for stopping people from receiving nudes. They continued doing this throughout 2014 and 2015, and while it doesn't seem they had too much success, there was at least one intelligence officer that was identified as being exposed to the Iranian government. Seems like a bit of a low success rate if you ask me, but with the skill level and attempts these guys have demonstrated, maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Now at this point we have to take a step back. As I said, Monica was working with 4 Iranian nationals to make her dream of going after the United States become a reality. And while most of these individuals aren't very interesting, there is one that we need to talk about. The Behzad was born on August 24th, 1988, in Nagadesh, Iran. Besides Monica herself, he is the most influential member of the entire group. After partnering up with Monica, he started a company in Iran whose identity wasn't revealed to the public, but whose purpose was to carry out hacks. In the end, this effort didn't last very long, though. In 2015, they seemingly stopped trying to reach out to more agents, likely because the failure rate was getting humiliating. For the next few years, it appears that the group didn't get up to much. But on an individual level, the members
Allied
weren't sitting
destroyer
idly
joining
by.
squadron.
As it turns out,
Deploying Helldivers.
Behzad is a huge fan of Game of Thrones. Maybe too big of a fan. Sometime in May 2017, he started sketching out one of the
Objective
most
completed.
ambitious hacks of this generation. He began by doing a reconnaissance of HBO's computer networks and employees, searching for access points throughout the networks where authorized personnel could enter the database. After
Is the new guy got all his stuff?
Put his plan in motion. He hacked multiple employee accounts and entered HBO secure servers, stealing as much data as he possibly could. The leak was substantial. There were dozens of video files of unaired HBO episodes, including Barry, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Room 104, and The Deuce. There were also scripts and plot summaries of other unaired content, including his favorite, Game of Thrones. He also got his hands on financial records, employee contact lists, emails, and online login information for HBO's social media accounts. After this, Behzad became very brazen. On July 23rd of that year, he contacted multiple HBO executives and employees with the proof that he had hacked their network. He then followed it up with an email threatening to leak the Game of Thrones Season 7 scripts and cast list.
Are we all good to go?
Information about other shows. He threatened to leak all of this to the public unless HBO paid him a $5.5 million ransom via Bitcoin. He ended the email writing "Good luck to HBO" with a picture of the Night King from Game of Thrones. But HBO refused to pay up, so this TV terrorist came back a few days later and made a stronger threat. He said that if they didn't pay the now increased ransom of $6 billion, he would definitely leak all of their stuff right away. But again, HBO did nothing. So he came back one last time 3 days later, giving them a link to his Bitcoin wallet. Once it became clear that he wouldn't get any money, he held true to his word and started promoting his leak across social media, slowly divulging the treasure trove of websites that he controlled. He really made sure people would know that HBO was hacked and that he was the man who did it. Now after this, things get a bit rocky. A group calling itself Charming Kitten was connected to the HBO hack, which claimed that Behzad worked for them. This led to a deep dive by a company called Clear Sky Cybersecurity, which claimed that Charming Kitten engaged in large-scale phishing campaigns
Okay, so
to
you're
target
having problems.
intelligence officials and other people. They did this by creating various fake websites made to look legitimate. Behzad, once again, was connected to this group. In 2018, Charming Kitten, perhaps out of a desire for revenge, built a phishing website made to look like the official website of Clear Sky Cybersecurity. The purpose of it was simply to collect login credentials. However, the phishing site was found before it was fully finished, meaning it never had the chance to do much damage. 1 month later, they were exposed for trying to hack email accounts belonging to U.S. Treasury members, Arabian atomic scientists, Washington, D.C. think tank employees, and enforcers of the U.S.-Iran nuclear deal. While there isn't much hard data on Charming Kitten, there were some links between them and at least two of our hacker quintet, Monica and Behzad. In 2019, after the five were indicted for their actions between 2013 and 2015, news reports came out connecting Monica and Behzad to...
We don't want to carry that embryo
However, this didn't seem to put a stop to
for
them.
any farther
Later
than
that
we
year,
have to.
Microsoft came out publicly and claimed that Charming Kitten was targeting a 2020 U.S. presidential candidate, although they
Have
refused to
30
name
minutes
which one.
remaining.
According to them, the group had attempted to identify 2,700 email accounts connected to people who were associated with the campaign. 4 accounts were compromised, although supposedly none of them belonged to any candidate. Since then, it's not really clear if either of our quintet is still involved with them, but the group is still active to this day, creating malware and hacking tools like Hyperscrape and PowerStar. Rim Jong-hyuk, whose name sounds close to a very sort of taboo thing, is probably the most mysterious man on this list. The only thing known about him is that he's an Asian guy and that he speaks English and Korean. At some point, he became involved with a hacking
Well, that's
group
weird. What
called
broke?
Dario, which is equally mysterious. They were first mentioned in 2019 as a potential subgroup of the infamous Lazarus Group. According to a report by the U.S. Department of Treasury, they've been operating since 2015 with the purpose of stealing money from the West to fund North Korean infrastructure. In particular, they were accused of stealing credit and debit card info by hacking into ATMs to withdraw cash and steal customer details. Later in 2016, they allegedly hacked into the computer of the South Korean defense minister, trying to steal military secrets. There's very little
Right.
known about their actions over the past decade. Unlike many other hacking groups, these guys managed to stay completely under the radar, but there was never any doubt that they were operational. In 2019, they took part in stealing 312,000 Ethereum tokens alongside the Lazarus project, but their involvement wasn't discovered until much, much later. However, not even the best hackers out there could stay out of the spotlight forever. On July 25th, 2024, the Department of Justice indicted the Helldivers group, and specifically named Rim Jong Hyuk as a co-conspirator. They don't ever really explain how they got the name of their group, which sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings, but the sheer number of charges is harrowing. You see, back in 2022, during the wildfires in Hawaii, the Andariel group used a ransomware virus called Maui.exe, blackmailing people to pay them crypto unless their files were deleted. They then laundered the money they received through Hong Kong-based facilitators who converted the crypto into Chinese yuan. Even back in 2022, the operation had experienced some trouble, as around $500,000 worth of crypto was seized back by the FBI. The money that they got from this was then used to restore private servers, which they used to launch further cyber attacks against, once again, unnamed defense contractors and security and technology companies and other organizations, including 2 U.S. Air Force bases, NASA, South Korean and Taiwanese defense contractors, and even a Chinese energy company. They were
If you mark the big targets, I can drop my pod right on them.
vulnerabilities in web systems. This includes the Log4j vulnerability, a flaw in web-based software developed by the Apache Software Foundation. Some products are widely used in the space industry, including software like Apache ActiveMQ, which handles communication between satellite networks, and Citrix NetScaler, a security program. Besides these vulnerabilities, the hackers also
I got
use
him.
traditional social engineering, basically just convincing people to open doors for them that would otherwise be closed. These methods proved devastatingly
Reinforcements on
successful.
the way.
The hackers stole terabytes of data, including unclassified U.S. government employee info, old technical
Oh,
manuals
shit.
for military aircraft.
They have to be marked so I can
property,
see them.
and
I can't see them when I'm falling.
information about
You hit
maritime
press
and
Q to mark
processing projects.
on PC.
With RIM being the only named member, the FBI authorized a $10 million bounty on them, which they also extended to the
Request
entire
approved.
Andariel group.
Reinforcements on the
With
way.
this also came the seizure of some of their crypto wealth when an unnamed agent identified 2 crypto accounts associated with the group, one a Binance account and one a Paxful account. The assets from these accounts were seized, although it's not clear how much money was taken. This wasn't much, mind you, as the FBI only managed to recover around $93,000 from the Binance accounts and around $50K from the Paxful accounts. Considering they had already seized about $500,000 from them back in 2022, and considering that these 2 accounts had been used to launder 7.12 bitcoins all by themselves, it's unlikely this had too much of an impact. Hell, the fact that the bounty is set at $10 million.
That thing's probably
shows
still
that these
alive, but
sums
it doesn't have any legs on one
as is always
side.
the case with these hackers, these indictments didn't deter them one bit. If anything,
Yeah, it's still alive.
in August, a cybersecurity company called
Oh, I don't have my jump pack on. Yeah, that's
filed a report on the hacker group's activities, outlining
Allied
their methods
destroyer
and
has
their
left
usual
the
vectors of
squadron.
attack, which included various aerospace companies
Ugh.
across the United States, Japan, South Korea, and India. Most recently, the hacking group was exposed for using the Play ransomware virus, and as of now, they likely are still in operation. Shailesh Kumar P. Jain was born on February 10, 1970, somewhere in India, although he later...
Yeah, I think 6 might be a little hard for me to carry 3 people.
I'm sure you can see where this is going. The FBI describes him as an internet entrepreneur, most notably...
Well, Epic, you're pretty good. I mean, you should be able to.
Reinforcements have been launched.
But even before getting into his major crimes, Jane was a bit of a bad egg. In 1991, he was arrested in California for fraud, although he didn't stay in jail for very long, founding eFront sometime after he got out. His company, eFront, though successful, was embroiled in controversy right from the get-go. The basic concept of the company was to purchase successful websites and populate them with banner ads. This was a pretty normal way of doing things back then, but Jane had a way of making it worse. For one, he allegedly didn't even pay the banner
Democracy's
companies,
dignity
meaning he just
maintained.
pocketed all the money he was getting from the AdSense. He also supposedly threatened multiple websites that were exposing his shitty behavior with lawsuits, effectively shutting them out of existence. Perhaps worst of all, when a female webmaster disagreed with him, he
Wow, y'all
threatened
did
to
great.
assault her and spit on her. Sometime in 2001, someone leaked
Oh, man, it's
text
all good.
messages between Jane and a man named Bryant, as well as some other users, where they discussed the best possible way of silencing their critics. They debated on everything from lawsuits to cease and desist letters, planning to take over their competitors' websites. In fact, this is how most of their shady business tactics were discovered in the first place. Of course, none of this really worked out for them, and the company was officially defunct later that year. Jane the United States to avoid
Calling
charges
in
of
orbital
tax evasion.
strike.
So he was officially back to square one. But his scammer ways wouldn't allow him to just sit idly by. At some point, he met a Swedish-born man named Bjorn Daniel Sundin, and together they started working on their most ambitious project yet, selling counterfeit antivirus software licenses. Jane founded multiple shell companies for this purpose, including Discount Bob and Shifting Currents
Sending in an
Financial
eagle.
Incorporated. But the most noteworthy was called Innovative Marketing Incorporated, founded by Bjorn and based out of Ukraine. The idea was simple. Take a company like Antivirus, a relatively popular
hang
antivirus
on.
software developed by Symantec, and then pretend to be a genuine seller of that software. Using spam and pop-up ads, he convinced people interested in Norton to come on his website instead, where they would pay $39.95 for his shoddy, non-functional product. The payments were processed through a third party, so at the very least, he didn't steal their credit
And I
card.
changed out my good armor.
When the payment was complete,
The super sample, you'll find the rare samples just all over the place. If you want a sample farm and you want purple ones, we should go back to 4.
Got equipment.
Fire in the hole!
Because we can just rock through several of those real fast.
Tagging location. West. Dropping a pin. North. Farm.
Oh, we got an impaler. Run. Just keep running. Bugs are the hardest thing to do, but also, they're the most fun for me. Mm.
Wait, Liberty, my arm!
Orbital inbound.
Yeah, I'm out of grenades. I'd use a barrage. We're almost there. We just need to raise one more flag.
Bugs, south.
Throwing supply beacon.
Deploying equipment package. Mission at 20 minutes remaining.
Head. East. Left. Out got it, nice cover.
Fucking losers jumping in.
Calling in reinforcements. Request approved. Reinforcements have been launched.
Got supplies back here. It's too hot.
Requesting sentry. Bug tunnel breach. Calling in orbital strike. Sending in an eagle.
My life for super art!
Calling down a sentry. Requesting air support.
Fire in the hole!
Resupply up here. God damn it, piece of shit, motherfucker.
Reinforcement budget depleted. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way.
We're gonna have to leave. I think it's one of those things where they're just not gonna stop spawning until we. They're just never gonna stop spawning. So, let's meet up at this point over here.
Orbital inbound.
Can't call you in. Everybody's on cooldown.
Firing orbital. Additional reinforcement funding approved. Calling in reinforcements. You're back. Allied destroyer joining squadron. Deploying Helldiver to combat zone. Mission at 10 minutes remaining. Calling down a support weapon. Requesting backpack. Calling down supplies. Sending down equipment package.
Requesting air support.
Activating jump pad.
If you get in front of me, this electricity will arc to you as well.
Smoke tunnel breach.
I wish I got that on film. Shit.
Additional reinforcement funding approved. Reinforcing.
Yeah, this is too much. This is too hard. If we're just forming purples. You're probably not at the bottleneck that you get on supers yet.
Tech pack inbound.
Don't shoot it with a grenade pistol that close to you.
Calling down a support weapon.
Oh no, it missed. Looks like an adjudicator. Slugger, maybe.
Sweet liberty, my leg.
Epic. I'm having fun watching Epic. Probably a slugger. It does the rounds reload, so you won't run out.
Get some, get some.
And it's hard. Getting ready for bed, I hit the hook of heavy.
Activating jump pad. Additional reinforcement funding approved.
We have to go to extract. We can't keep just go. Let's go.
Dropping a pin. East. 300 meters.
It's all the way across the map. Bring what you can, because yeah. O2, come on. Here, let's hang out on this rise and try to give him some cover.
Bug tunnel breach!
Bag's empty.
Additional reinforcement funding approved.
Come towards us, Oscar 2. Well, we can't cover you now because you got that big tree between us and you.
New mag.
Requesting air support!
Fire in the hole.
These little assholes are coming out of the ground right behind him. Like, oh, there's only one back here. I'll kill it. Oh, wait, there's 3 more. I'll kill them. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I gotta go. They didn't used to just spawn right on top of us like that.
Back in.
Tagging location. Northeast. Cancel that. Found something!
Requesting advanced weaponry.
What are we doing? We're not anywhere closer to
Calling
the
down
thing.
a sentry!
Oh, never mind. I've looked at the map wrong.
1 minute left. Destroyer preparing to leave.
Here we go. Yeah, I was being dumb. Never mind.
To the skies.
This won't be the time to do it, but what you do is you'll call it in, and then everyone get out of range, and then someone stand right at the edge of where it goes in and out of range, just inside the range where it will still land. Then it will come down, and as soon as you see it coming down, run out of the range, and then it will just stop and hover and just start shooting stuff.
Orbital inbound.
Firing orbital barrage. Clear the area. Super destroyer leaving low orbit. Emergency extraction shuttle deployed.
Oh, come on! Well, if I have any samples, pick them up. Okay, for future reference, let's try to throw those things to the edge of the pad.
30 seconds.
The resupplies, so people won't be tempted to run towards the middle to pick one up. I mean, we're leaving. I didn't need a resupply. Oh shit, where is it? Why isn't it landing? Is something screwed up? You'll have to set the timer?
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
What the hell's going on? That's weird.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds. ETA T-minus 20 seconds. ETA T-minus 10 seconds. This is Pelican 1. I have visual on the extraction zone. This is Pelican 1, preparing for touchdown. Pelican 1 preparing to depart. Shuttle launch in 20 seconds. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Return, refit, and redeploy to purge the state of this failure with a peroxide of victory.
Temporary setback. We will fight on. Welcome aboard, Helldivers, and congratulations on completing the training.
Allied destroyer has left squadron.
battleground awaiting your heroic intervention. The bugs are a plague. You are the vaccine. Let us continue our progress.
Allied destroyer coordinates received. Mission coordinates locked.
This is a defense mission, so bring turrets.